If I were to take Socedo out on a date, we would jump in my car, we'd go on a long drive to an amusement park where we would ride on roller coasters all day and just enjoy the thrill of being in a startup, being on a roller coaster, being on a drive. Socedo is essentially a platform for sales teams that helps them generate relevant leads based on social media data. So we look at people's bios and their profiles online, and then we also look at what they're talking about, what actions they're taking, and from that we can interpret who's the right person at the right time for a sales team to be talking to. So we released our private beta on December 1st of last year, so it's been about 4 months now, and already we have about 190 companies using the product so far. With those companies, we see about 55% of them active on a weekly basis. Over that same time frame, we've generated 2,500 leads for our customers, and those are leads that people actually click the yes button saying that, yeah, this is a relevant lead for me. Right now we're seeing about a 25% hit rate, so for every 4 leads that a customer looks at that we provide, they find that one of them is relevant for their business that they want to spend more time on. I think there's been lots of learnings along the path, 2 in particular. One, after we started the Microsoft Accelerator program, powered by Techstars, we really did a lot of very in-depth customer discovery. And initially what the product was for marketers, social media managers, community managers who are already building this presence online, who are driving engagement. And we wanted to give them a way to do one-to-one relationship management so they could drive people closer to that point of win, that conversion, that sale. And in theory, that sounded like a really good idea. And I think when we talked to people, people were like, yeah, this is something that we could definitely use. But we really didn't find that people needed it. And one of the things that we uncovered is that, in hindsight, it's pretty obvious. It's marketers, aren't in charge of one-to-one relationship management. They are focused on broadcast, one-to-many, general exposure. So we started to think about who in the organization is managing one-to-one relationships already. Well, those are the sales guys, the business development guys, the evangelists. And so we did a major pivot from what we were building for marketers over to the sales side of the world, where they had this need to get new relevant leads, and social media was able to do that in a very relevant way. So the hypothesis that this was for marketers obviously, failed, and I'm glad that we pivoted from there, pretty quickly. Another one is that we were, and this is something that I think we're still kind of playing with a little bit, but I think we're moving from right now, is we initially thought that this was going to be an enterprise sale type of system where we would go and we directly reach out to a VP of sales, a director of sales, and sell them a $1,000 a month, package. What we're finding is that this is really much more of the type of situation where an individual sales rep is going to pull out their credit card and expense a $30 a month charge. And we found, through our initial traction that it's actually really easy to get people into the top of our pipeline and build this based on volume rather than trying to go and have a salesperson work with an executive as a certain company, deal with a 6-month, 12-month sales cycle, try to get them to understand why social media is better than what they're already doing. Instead, we're really now learning that, hey, the best way to go after this is to go for breadth, really build mind share, use a freemium model, and go after volume instead. I like SEO Moz. I really like what Rand is doing. I think that he, I've seen what they've been doing over many years, and I love his style. I love the culture that he builds, and the space that they're in is also really cool too. SEO, all inbound marketing. I also really like Simply Measured. What Aviel and Adam and those guys are doing over there. I think that they're in the social media space. We've used them. We're a client of theirs. We've seen kind of how they've grown, and I think that they're really attacking the problem space from a very interesting perspective, and I think there's a lot of exciting things going on over there right now with them just closing their Series B. They're hiring a bunch of people. I really think they're onto something, and I love the way that they're kind of going about their approach. My favorite thing about being an entrepreneur is really the autonomy. I mean, I can set a vision, I can think big picture, we get to set the strategy and really drive it in the way that we want to. And that feeling of, it being us against the world and really going after something big is what keeps you going, every single day. And I think that that's just so exciting. I've never really had a real job. I've never really worked for anybody else, and so I couldn't really see it any other way. I think there's a lot in the future of Socedo. This is really just the beginning, and when we think about the social media space as a whole, we really are just at the tip of the iceberg. These are the caveman days for social media. If you think about what it is, it's putting something up on the cave wall and then being like, ugh, I like that, or I don't like that. That's what social media is, and what's going to happen is that we're going to replicate on social media all of these interesting human dynamics at, what is the core of being a human being, which is this tendency to be social. So building relationships online is only going to become more and more important. And I think that what we're doing today, what most people are doing in the social media industry today, is not necessarily around rich relationship building. Socedo is going to do that. It's going to help you find the right people to engage with and engage and build personal relationships in a meaningful way, whether that's for salespeople to go and find leads, for political organizations to go and find donors or influencers, for a college student who's looking for a job. Everything in this world comes down to relationships and networking, and with social media you can supercharge that, and Socedo is going to be at the center of that trend. Socedo is exciting in lots of different ways. Like I said, I mean, this social media space is so big, and we're just at the tip of the iceberg. That to me, that's so exciting. I mean, what we're dealing with is such a fundamental human need to be social. And finally, with social media, with this being online, we're now able to make this so much more efficient, and you're able to monetize on that and really connect businesses and people together in a way that makes sense. That's really exciting to me. Growing a company, working with talented people, working on tough problems, working with the data, being in big data, working on user interfaces, doing all these types of things are really exciting. So to me, there's never a boring moment. Everything is exciting in this world. Our company culture is really about working hard and challenging each other. I think that Kevin and I come from very different backgrounds. We're in different places in our lives, but I think that we have such different perspectives that we're able to see all angles of a problem. And you'll find that in our company culture, it's very normal to challenge each other and really debate things through and making sure that we're thinking about all aspects of the problem and the challenge that we're going after. Working hard and having fun, all the normal stuff is part of our company culture, but we're also very small and it's very early, and so we've got lots of different places that we can kind of take this as we grow. One of the biggest advantages to being in Seattle is that at the end of the day, it's actually a really small and tight-knit community. And while a lot of people look at that and say, oh, it's not as sexy as the Bay, there's not as much going on here, what ends up happening is that you just are able to create a very good support system here. I feel like I can reach out to any of the top entrepreneurs in this city, any of the top VCs, and they'll set a coffee, they'll set a meeting. It's really accessible to meet with people and have mentors and advisors here. And I think that's what makes Seattle great. Like, I don't necessarily know that we could replicate that in New York or San Fran, where there's just so many more people, so many people that are always kind of bugging the top entrepreneurs or VCs and whatnot. Here, I think there's just this attitude of, we're all in this together, and I think that's what makes Seattle great. So this one's easy. It would be a penguin. It's on the logo itself. The reason why the penguin is our mascot is because it's the most social bird. They have all sorts of really interesting family and relationship dynamics. A penguin also wears a tuxedo, which rhymes with Socedo, and so I've got to go with the penguin on this one.